So you asked like what a frame is, right?
Yeah.
Well, all fighting games work in 60 frames per second, right? There's 60 frames in a second, which basically means that like any other moving picture, all it is just a series of pictures played back very, very fast,
Have you
right?
seen
60 frames in a second, which means that every move you do has different kinds of frames. The three main frames we're talking about are startup frames, active frames, and recovery frames. Here's all you basically need to know. Every move you do, this fierce, this forward, this jab, they all have startup, active frames, and recovery. The startup frames are the frames, like after you press the button, the number of frames before your move is able to hit somebody. You know what I mean? So for example, it takes a second, like after you hit that button, before you're actually hitting me. Before you're actually able to hit me. Since the jab is a light button and it's faster, it's harder to determine this. But if we try it with like a hard button, watch this. I'm gonna hit the button, and hopefully you guys can hear it, and to compare it to when Ryu actually gets hit. Here we go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Moves take time to activate. They take time to start up, and that's what startup frames are all about. You know what I mean? You follow us so far, Gerard?
I think so.
Yeah. Like, startup frames are just like the time it takes for your move to like get cooking before it can actually hit a dude, you know? As opposed to the second part, which are the active frames, which are the portion of the move where the move is able to actually hit somebody. You know what I mean? You guys
hold
follow?
on. Yeah, I follow. There's a lot of information coming at you. I'm looking at Gerard right now. I'm across from Gerard, so I'm looking at him across the couch right now.
Translate for me.
What this is going to make evident to you is as you become more comfortable with the character, understanding scenarios, right, just like you were doing there. See it? You were just out of range for that light kick. You were just out of frame. There wasn't enough frames there to then move it. Maybe you need to do something a little bit more. Maybe you want to do your medium. Yeah, that went a lot more. That heavy went real far, but it took a real long time to recover afterwards.
Right.
So these might be a little bit advanced, but this is just what's going on with what you're doing. And Brett's going to critique you, and you're going to be like, what the fuck did he mean? That's what he meant.
Like, if you want to replace the word frame with seconds, that's fine. They're just units of time. You know what I mean?
Sure. I understand frames.
Right,
Okay.
of course. So,
All right, so what does he do with this? He now has this information.
well,
What
we're
does
not
he-
done. We still have to talk recovery frames.
What are recovery frames?
Recovery frames are the frames that come after your active frames.
Is recovery frames like the day after Christmas when you're on the couch and you're like, I should have done all
Yeah,
this
when
stuff
you're
on
like got the
Christmas.
itis because you ate too much.
Yeah.
For sure. Your recovery frames are like after you throw a move out, and the portion of the move where it's actually able to hit somebody has already passed, and now you're locked into the portion where you have to wait to go back to zero.
So do a Shoryuken.
Yep.
So if I was next to you and you did it,
Right.
I attacked you in your recovery frame.
Exactly.
Right, you punished him in there
Exactly.
because he was left open.
Exactly. Because I'm holding. As soon as I'm doing the Shoryuken, I'm gonna block. The reason I was unable to block was because I was still in my recovery frames.
Yeah.
Got it.
You got it. So, startup frames, active frames, and recovery frames. Things with fewer startup frames are good, because that means the move is active faster. You understand? The Shoryuken with Ryu, which is performed, just in case you guys don't know, it's forward, down, down, forward punch.
Patrick, put some assets during all this, please. Just.
Yeah. He'll help us out.
I can talk to Patrick on your guys' show.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can.
sure.
Welcome to Patrick. Patrick, this is Gerard. Gerard, this is
Hi,
Patrick.
Patrick.
I know that when Gerard passes you in the hallway, he doesn't make eye contact. It's just because he's tired. It's not.
true.
It has nothing to do with
That's
you.
very true. I'm always tired.
He's always
That's
tired.
my secret. I'm always tired.
Mr. Banner or Dr. Banner, I think you better start getting tired. That's my secret, Cap.
I'm always tired.
Let's look at the difference between the Hadoken and the Shoryuken. The Hadoken
Sure.
is just down to forward in punch, as opposed to forward, down, forward punch. So obviously they're two very, very different types of moves. But let's talk about the difference between them in startup frames. Okay.
Sure, yeah.
I'm going to
bet.
input the Shoryuken right now. It's active almost instantly after I input the move, which means that it doesn't have many startup frames, as opposed to the Hadoken, which has a good amount of startup frames. It takes a while for that hittable box to come out. I'll show you what I mean. I'll stand right next to you.
So
look how hold on. Look
Okay.
how long after I perform the move that you're still like, you know, you're not hit yet. There's a lot of time there.
Yeah.
It may not seem like it, but there is. Because we're working in frames which are just 60ths of seconds, which is a short time, but in the wider gameplay scheme of things, it makes a big difference.
So a Hadoken is
Yeah.
like a European racing team because their cars are meant to go on like turns and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
But like a Shoryuken is more like a drag racer because
Sure.
it's just gonna go.
Sure,
And if
sure.
you fuck up, it's just gonna like swerve off to the side and be like a big old fiery mess.
Basically, yeah, you got it.
Thanks.
But as a general rule of thumb, light attacks start up faster, medium attacks are a little bit slower, and heavy attacks are slower than that. But they're not just slower on their startup frames, they're usually slower on their recovery frames as well. Do your crouching short. You're back to neutral very fast after that, right? You're back to, like, if you just press it once, Ryu is able to, like, block and, like, go neutral again, like, a second after that. But do your crouching roundhouse. See how long it takes him to go back to neutral after that?
Yeah.
That's because it has far more recovery frames than the crouching short. That's what we're talking about here. Basically, startup frames are how long it takes to get going, and recovery frames are how long before you're back to neutral.
Understood.
Yeah. You want to talk active frames?
Sure.
It's very, very simple. So, just because, like, let's say this standing fierce punch takes 24 frames total to go from the beginning to neutral again, right? If it takes 24 frames, some of those are startup frames, some of those are recovery frames, and some of those are active frames. The move isn't active the whole time. There's only a certain window or period where it's able to hit somebody. Somewhere in the middle, usually, and those are where the active frames are. So you have to be aware of, like, moves that have more active frames than others can be useful in certain situations. For example, this move, the collarbone breaker, is pretty damn active. That one too. You want to do forward and forward strong. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But let's talk about the one you did, actually. That one's probably an even better example. Forward and fierce, the solar plexus punch, is such a great meaty move. And let me show you why.
You can also combo out of it, correct? You can also link it into something?
Yeah, you can, but that's not the point.
Okay.
The point is, here, I'm going to throw you. And as you're getting up off the ground, I just want you to try and hit me.
How do you do a throw?
It's just two light buttons at the same time.
Okay.
All right, as you're getting up off the ground, I want you to try and hit me, okay? Okay, see how you hit me out of that?
Yeah.
I was doing jab. And jab is fine because it's quick, but it's not very active.
Yeah.
The times when it's able to hit you are very, very short. Now let's try the same thing again. Oh, I mistimed it. One more time. See that? The forward hard punch has a lot of active frames. So I kind of throw it out as you're waking up. And if you're pressing buttons while you wake up, you're waking up into my active frames, which is you getting hit. You know what I mean? But do you understand what I mean by active frames, Jerome?
Yes.
Like, the more active frames a move has, the easier it is for you to like bop your opponent with them. That's basically all there is to it.
Yeah.
But, everything has pros and cons in these games. So the more active frames a move has, you could probably bet that the more startup and recovery it'll have. You know what I mean?